Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how I make my Jingle Bell bow shoe clips. This actually harkens back to a family tradition that existed when I was a kid. My grandmother every Christmas would take my sneakers, unlace them, put jingle bells on the laces, and then relace them so the bells were in the center. And then everywhere I would go that holiday season, I would have little jingle bells. Now, my grandmother passed away before I had children. She actually passed away about 3 years before I even met my husband. So she hasn't gotten to do that with them, but my mother has revived the tradition with a little modern twist. These are zip tied on jingle bells, and she did front and back of my son's shoes and left me a little jealous. So mommy wanted her own jingle bells. Obviously, as an adult, it's a little harder to always have on sneakers. Not every job allows them. So I decided to go a little old school and purchase some shoe clips, which would let me do that to my own shoes. So I'm going to take today and I'm going to show you how I make these as I make another pair. This is for my black shoes. I'm actually going to be making the pair that would go with my brown shoes tonight. So sit back and hang on and let's get going. So the first thing you would want to do is make sure you have your supplies. Our supply list tonight includes my handy dandy glue gun. This is just a mini low temp glue gun. I prefer the low temp versus the high temp so I don't burn my fingers. It still works really well and is great. And of course, glue sticks. That's going to be used for gluing the leather pieces together. For actually attaching the metal shoe clip, I'm going to use E6000, which is my favorite. This is the clear. This is great anytime you're working with attaching resins or metal to the leather because it actually takes hold on both. If you're just using the glue gun glue, it won't stick to the metal or resins long term, so this is a lot better choice. Of course, we have our scissors for cutting out our leather, the jingle bells for the center, some shoe clips. I was able to buy these on Amazon. I got 20 of them, which is enough to do 10 pairs for a little less than $7, including tax and prime shipping. My mom gave me the jingle bells from her bag, but you can buy these Amazon, any craft supply store. Little pin. My leathers. I've gotten 2 different ones. I'm going to do this as my bow, and this is my bow tails. And then, of course, your bow templates. You have a couple of different options there. Some people use the Sizzix machine and run them through. Some people have these templates you can buy on Amazon, craft supply groups. I got these from my Facebook group, Fabric and Craft Supplies D-Stash group by Riley Bees, and I love it. Mama Donna does a great job at supplying us with everything we need. So these are my templates. These are really sturdy. This is an example of the ones I've gotten on Amazon. They aren't quite as sturdy, but they're still good. And when you buy a pack, you normally get enough for bows and maybe some earring pieces, just different options. Right, so those are going to be your supplies, and let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is take my leather. I'm going to flip it over to the back side, set everything else out of my way, and I'm going to actually trace my patterns onto my leather. All right, so let's see. I don't need that one. I'm going to use this one right here as my backdrop for my tails. So that's going to be on the red glitter leather. And set that over there. And then I'm going to use this one with the presents to make my actual bow part of my bow. I'm also going to make the little center out of the red glitter. And that's going to be this one right here. So I'm going to start off with my red glitter leather. This is a smaller sheet. You can get all sorts of different sizes. This one just came in a bulk gift pack from Amazon I got on a deal. If you're looking to do this and just getting started, I really suggest you search Amazon discount deals on Facebook. There are going to be a ton of groups with affiliate links. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my template down on my fabric. I'm going to carefully trace it out. So here we go. I'm going to be making a pair of these. So I'm going to be making 2 of each shape. So there's bow center one. I always like to also just make sure that when I'm doing mine, I stay close to my edges and try and preserve as much of the leather as I can. I don't want to throw away a bunch of trash leather. Just don't like that. I try and be very, very conservative with my leather usage. So there's tail 1 done, and tail 2 is coming up real fast. So I'm going to get these traced out. La, da, da. No, this is really tedious, but it's if you're doing it by hand, the cutting's going to take a minute too. If you have the Sizzix, you can get templates and do it on your Sizzix. The metal dies and do it on your Sizzix. And I haven't quite gotten there yet because I just got my Cricut. But there are the SVG files available for your Cricut or your Cameos. Silhouettes, I think, are the Cameo brand, actually. And you can use your little cutters to actually cut these out. So there are my tails and there's my centers. And set that to the side to cut out in just a second. And I'm going to get my presents over here. Present author. This came from, ooh, I'm having a moment. This may have been another Amazon deal. I have gotten so many things in for the holiday season. Now, I do have some beautiful ones I got from Mama Donna. Mama Donna is our lady who runs our craft group that I'm in, and she does phenomenal stuff. I will have a link to her group in my comments, so you can look that up if you want to join and do some of this yourself. I'm hoping that after she sees these, she's going to start offering the shoe clips I can just buy from her, support her little small business. So I'm going to trace this out. Some of these have slightly different backings, so it's a little different as far as how the pen responds. And you can use this. You can use a Sharpie. It's whatever you're most comfortable with. I'm just going to trace these out. Get those done real fast. So there we go. That's going to be... You want to be very careful not to wiggle your patterns too. My little hands try and do that sometimes. And if you notice red ink on my fingers or red tinge, I was just doing some resin casting. So my fingers got a little bit of alcohol ink. I've already washed them. Being very careful not to get them on my leather tonight. It's one of the hazards of working with alcohol inks is you get it on everything. I definitely did not wear anything that it would matter if it splashed. So there we go. And if you hear me sniffing, I'm sorry, guys. My sinuses are acting up. This weather's been back and forth. So my little body is not happy with that. There we go. So I've gotten my bow shapes cut, or traced, ready to cut, my tails, and my centers. And now I'm going to start cutting. Okay, so now we have all the pieces cut out. I will say, I do like to save these scraps. And some of you are going to laugh. Believe it or not, I have some ring and earring blanks I get that have these itty bitty, like 10 millimeter size. So very small. And I can punch these out and put the resin in and set them in those earrings or ring blanks and make these cute little sets that would go with my bows or whatever. It's a really great way to conserve your scraps and get a little extra mileage out of them. And you can tell I really did not waste a lot of leather. I tried to keep it very minimal. But our pieces are cut out now. And I'm going to start assembly. So we have our bow bases, our actual bow part, our bow tails, and our centers. The centers, I'll show you what I'm going to do with these real fast. I'm going to take my bells. I'm going to wiggle these in here. These should just fit. It doesn't. Let me see. Let me try and do. There we go. And it gets my bell on there. And I just run it through the loop on the bell. You can trim these down. They're really not going to show that much. There we go. So there's my bell ready to go. And there's my bell ready to go here. Almost. Sometimes your cuts. And all I did when I was cutting is I followed that line I traced. If you had the Cricut or whatever, you can just, it'll cut it for you. No need to worry. Just get your SVG file and size it the way you want it. So there's that. my next step, I always like to glue my bow centers first. So what I'll do is I'll put my dollop of hot glue right here. I normally give it just a second to semi-set before I start folding them in. And you're going to fold your corners in. And I am a messy gluer sometimes. You're going to fold your corners in here so that you're reaching about the halfway point, keeping them nice and neat on one side. Tap it down well. And come over here and do the same thing on the other side. And once you've got them in place, just hold them for a second. You might have a little overlap. And then when I flip it over, you can see I have a nice, neat little bow. If you have the ability to do the die cuts with either the Sizzix or the Cricut, you'll get even cleaner lines. I do have fairly steady hands for this, and mine normally come out really nice, even though I'm doing them by hand. Some people do, some people don't. I've got a couple friends who cannot cut a straight line, even following a line to save their life. I can't cut it without a guide. I definitely have to have my lines there to cut as far as keeping it nice and neat. So there we go. I'm going to get these centered and there. So these are our bow. Like the bow part of the bows are really cute. I like these packages. All right, and then I'm going to just come over here. I'm going to put a dollop of glue in the center of each of the bow tails. I really like this cut. The nice thing about my templates is I do have the option to do different designs if I want to. I'm a little low on glue. Let me pop a stick in. But yeah, I can change it up as I choose to. Whenever I'm getting a stick started, it's always the worst time because they want to fall all over the place. And then I'm just going to set these, make sure they're pretty centered. Depends on how much it's going to stress you out over how centered you want them, or if you're selling them. Obviously, if these were for someone, I would be going really, really psychotic on making sure they were absolutely centered. I'm going to move this, scooch this one just a little bit. Okay, there we go. There we go. So look how cute that is. All right. And the next step, and these go really fast. That is one thing I do like about this one. You're going to glue our bells. So I've got my bells run through on here. I'm going to do it's determined to make me look foolish tonight. I'm going to do my dollop of glue in the center. Now again, hot glue and metal don't really hold, so this isn't so much for holding the bell in place. The bell itself is going to be held in place by the leather strap. This is just to help anchor it while I glue it. It will hold it short term, it just won't hold it well long term as far as metal to the leather. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to put my bell right smack dab in the center. And then I just flip it over neatly. I'm going to tuck my tails. Depending, I always run into these center strips ending up just a little bit too long when I'm trying to do this, which is fine. I'd rather it be a little long and make sure I have a nice, neat, flat backing than too short and have it bumping up. It does not do as well when you bump them up, at least not for gluing on the back pieces. So there's that. I just tucked it over and I glued it. And I'm going to come right here and I'm going to put a dollop on this side. And I'm going to bring the top part over and tuck it over and glue it. Yeah, this one actually came out perfect. Good. I like that. Your fingers get really tough with the clay. That's what, and you can see I get glue on my fingers when I'm trying to do this. That's what I do not like high temp. So there we go. Look at our bell bow. You can hear it jingles just gently. It's really cute. I can tell you if you're wanting a stiffer bow, something that's a little higher and more poofy, what you can do is get some nice felt. Won't cost you much. Most felt is less than $1 at the craft store. And you can cut the felt and glue it to the back of your leather as kind of a backing. If you're sewing, you do like it'd be like a sewing interfacing, and it gives it just a little more stiffness and it'll sit up a little higher. So that's completely optional, personal kind of thing, however you want to do it. I'm not going to do that this time. I just don't really mind if they're a little soft and flat. But, you know, however you feel like you want yours to look. So I'm going to do this one. And I'm going to do this one. So at this point, I'm going to be done with the glue gun. Love my glue gun, but it is no good for gluing metal to leather. So we're not going to use that anymore. And I'm keeping this nice and flat. So there we go. All right. My first pair, it didn't matter. But this pair, we've got the design. And it's definitely a package design with a top and a bottom. So I want to make sure when I'm going to prep it, I have my packages on top. So let's neatly get that. Here are the shoe clips. So the way these work is this side with a little narrow, it's got little spikes to help catch. This goes underneath the toe of your shoe. So you want this pointing down towards your toes. So the hinge would be right at the edge of your shoe. The little, let me bring my other shoes up. All right, I'm gonna do this with a plain clip. So this would slide under here, and your clip goes, this part goes right here. So you wanna make sure when you're gluing, that you're gluing, if you're doing a design, you're gluing it so it looks right. So I'm gonna glue it with the presents coming towards me, which means I need to make sure that when I'm doing it, the hinge goes with the way towards the top of the presents. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna flip these over. I'm gonna set that down, and we're gonna get this. Okay, so that's just so you can see how we do that. This is my E6000. This is great glue. It does stink if you're sensitive to odors. Do it in a ventilated area. Some people wear masks when they're working with it. It's however you want to do it. Safety first. I have everything pretty open here. I don't work in a closed off room when I'm doing this. I try and keep it as safe as I can. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and get on both of them. It likes to ooze out of the little tubey. So I'm going to go ahead and do that so I can close my tubey up. All right, so there's that. We're going to tighten that up really well. It's not a very expensive glue for what it is, but it's really, really good. And then you just kind of pop your little back on there, get your glue, pressure really well. It takes a while to set. This has a 24-hour cure time, so it may take it a minute. I normally pop it, hold it, and then I'll set it down to dry. Let's line this one up. So there's that one. See presents. I need to go like this. So flippy, flippy, and glue. All right. If you have that bump where if they are not laying flat and you have a bump, it's not going to want to sit still for you either. So it's going to be a pain. And like that one's trying to flip. What I'll do while these are drying actually is I'm going to want to try and keep them flat. So I'm going to lay them down just so that they, because like that one I had that angle so it fell off. There we go. Let's put it back on. Still have plenty of glue. It just didn't want to dry at that angle. And I'll let these sit and cure for at least 24 hours to make sure the glue is fully set. And then they can go on my little shoes. And that's how you make my Jingle Bell bow clips.